Welcome to The Source, where we combine the headlines with in-depth conversations with the newsmakers themselves. Today on the program, the Transportation Department gives the green light to motorcycle taxis.
This is basically hearing the call of the public, hearing the call of Senate and Congress to run this motorcycle taxi as a pilot implementation.
With a 6-month pilot testing set in June.
It will be a basis for us to evaluate if this motorcycle taxi can be adopted legally in the Philippines.
Will motorcycle taxis help ease the worsening traffic problem in Metro Manila and Cebu?
We hope po na talaga pong makita naman ng Supreme Court Supremo yung pangangailangan po ng taong bayan dito sa ating ride-hailing na angkas for motorcycles.
And our safety measures in place for the riders and the passengers. Land Transportation Office Director Francis Almora and Angkas Head of Regulatory and Public Affairs George Royeca join us live. Thank you for joining us. I'm Pinky Webb. Motorcycle taxis can now operate in Metro Manila and Metro Cebu. This after the Transportation Department approves its 6-month test run starting June. The decision is expected to benefit at least 27,000 drivers under one motorcycle taxi company. Lawmakers still need to come up with legislation to legalize motorcycle taxi operations. Let's go straight to the sources of the story. Land Transportation Office Director Francis Almora and Angkas Regulatory and Public Affairs Head George Royeca. Director and George, welcome to the show. Thank you for both being here.
Thanks for having us, Pinky.
This has to be big, especially for someone like George and Angkas, because let's backtrack a little bit. It was in 2017, was it, George?
Yes.
That
December 2017.
that Angkas had to kind of like stop operations, and it was a little bit confusing because stop, go, ganyan. Anyway, years later, you're given the green light to do a test run. No, test run pa lang to, beginning June. So the question is, are you starting tomorrow? Ganun ba yun?
Well, there's certain conditions. No, I think what the biggest condition right now is to really inform the public on how to ride and pillion on a motorcycle taxi. So we've trained our drivers. There's no contest in that, but now we have to train the passengers as well. So we're gonna run a massive campaign for do's and don'ts in the passengers, and hopefully right after that we can start the operations already.
So that's your preparation for now, but the drivers have already been trained and prepared for this.
So we're retraining all the drivers now.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're going through internal, logistics and all of the internal preparations to make sure that we really make it good in this pilot.
Director Francis, what are the rules and regulations for the pilot test run?
The primary instruction or consideration is the safety of the rider and the passenger. So the ANCAS or the apps company is required to train both the rider and the passenger on how to ride the motorcycle.
Right.
That's why we will be conducting first the information campaign for the passengers.
When will this happen, the information campaign for the passengers?
It should happen quite soon. We should be ready in a week or so.
So maybe you can already give us a little bit of a preview on what are the training for passengers, at least for those watching us, because you have about 27,000 drivers, is that correct?
Yes, we do,
That's
yes.
a lot of drivers.
Yes.
Malaking tulong ho ba to, Director Francis, to ease the traffic situation in Metro Manila?
Yes, that would be one of the things that we are looking into in the TWG. The training of the passenger was really emphasized because there's already a training for the rider, but not all passengers know how to ride a motorcycle.
Absolutely.
So we asked ANCAS to concentrate on the training
Yeah.
of the passenger.
Which is good.
Yes.
You know, you're not just training your drivers, but you need to train the passengers as well. Help us understand what kind of training a passenger must undergo.
Well, the idea is really to become a co-rider. So it's the responsibility of the passenger as well as the rider or the biker to make sure that the ride is safe. So that includes not counter steering. It includes making sure that you wear the helmet properly. You know, you'll be surprised. There's a lot of people that don't wear the helmet properly. So
Really?
Even,
Is there a
yes,
proper way to wear the helmet? I'm sorry.
There is. You,
Yeah.
you have to strap it, and it has to be 2 fingers
What?
in
From-
between your jaw and the strap.
Really?
Yes, that's the proper way to wear a helmet.
So yung tightness niya has to be 2 fingers between your tama ba, chin and the
Yes,
strap.
yes. And if that doesn't happen, there's a tendency for the
Wobble.
helmet to wobble.
So you mean 2 inches like this or 2 inches like
2
that?
inches like that.
Ah, like this.
Sorry, 2 fingers, not 2 inches.
Sorry, you're right.
yes.
Two
Yeah.
fingers. Okay, so that's one.
Yes.
So at least passengers should know that because that's for their safety. If an unfortunate thing happens, an accident
Yes,
happens. Okay.
yes.
What else must the passengers know?
Well, garments, for example, long shawls, can get,
Wrapped up in,
wrapped
yeah.
up on the tires. How to mount a motorcycle?
Yeah, that's easy.
It's on the right. The exhaust is on the right side, so you should always mount from the left side. So these are certain. It's like when you go into an airplane,
Yeah.
right before the airplane launches, there's this safety
Yeah.
guidelines that is taught by the flight attendant. So this is something similar that we're doing.
Are you saying, George, that if somebody is about to ride angkas, the driver will give a little bit of an introduction on the safety measures?
Definitely.
I see. And that was required by...
It is required. And likewise, the prospective passengers should learn that they will not be allowed to ride side saddle. They will
bawal
be
yan.
they will be riding face front.
Cowboy.
So here's the question. Why is that going to be the rule on angkas when I see even private motorcycles wherein you have the passenger sitting sideways? Bakit ganun, sir? Why is there a disparity there?
For the protection of the rider, it's really more dangerous to ride sideways because you cannot hold on.
Yeah.
So we even require the riders of angkas to provide in the vest of the riders a piece of like a strap.
Yeah, or a belt, no?
A
Or a
handle
belt.
on each
It's
side.
either a belt or a strap,
Right.
part of the vest of the rider, where the passenger can hold on.
And you have that, George?
Yes,
you have
we
that
do.
among
We'll be
your...
rolling that out to all our drivers.
What's that going to look like?
It's a vest, and there are handles on the side.
Really?
Yes. The idea here is a lot of the passengers are embarrassed to hold the driver.
I was about to say that,
So at least this gives you a little bit
Yeah.
of balance and control.
Right, because, this is a stranger.
Yes.
And you don't really want to wrap your arms over...
You should, though. I mean, we highly encourage
Really?
that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But for those that do not feel
Are not comfortable with it, no?
comfortable,
Yeah.
they have that option.
Yeah. But again, that's right. At least you have an option for that. I want to talk about the rules and regulations, Director Francis and George. So you need a helmet,
Yes.
definitely. You need a vest or
For
a belt.
both the rider and the passenger,
Yung helmet.
the
Okay.
helmets are required.
Why don't you guys let us know ano pa po? And then, kailangan may vest.
So I guess the identification is very important, right? So the identification is really important that you know the driver. You see that this angkas driver from afar. So they have a vest, they
Yeah.
have a uniform, they have an ID. So these are some of the things that are required for the pilot.
And it's very, they identify that reflectorized helmet.
Yes.
And then obviously, one that passes Philippine standards. And ito yung sinasabi ni Mr. Royeca na vest or, a belt that a passenger can actually hold on to instead of, but of course, he suggests na, you wrap your arms around the
Highly
driver.
encouraged.
Highly encouraged. And then that's important. The riders shall drive no faster than 60 kilometers per hour along any road.
Yes.
Yes, even if the speed limit is higher,
Yeah.
the condition for this trial run or implementation is for the riders not to exceed 60 kilometers per hour.
How are you going to oversee that angkas actually follows these rules and regulations, sir?
It will be a self-regulatory concept. It will be part of the training of the riders. And of course, we have the operatives on the road
Also monitoring.
to monitor.
We'll be taking a short break. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Please stay tuned. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. Our guest today, Land Transportation Office Director Francis Almora and Angkas Head of Regulatory and Public Affairs, George Royeca. Gentlemen, so just to be clear on this, yung sinabi niyo po kanina na you're going to encourage the cowboy, yung nakaharap, rather than the side saddle is what you call it. Director, bakit ganun? Angkas will encourage it, but bawal ho ba siya talaga?
At the
Yung
moment, we
side
don't have a
saddle.
regulation about it.
I see.
But the experts' findings on how to properly ride a motorcycle would show that it's more safer
Yeah.
to ride face front than on a side saddle. So we encourage and we impose that on the ANCAS.
I see.
For this trial run.
And George, the thing there is what about women who are wearing skirts? Hindi na sila
Well, I think the passengers need to be well prepared if they're going to take this type of transport. So, you have a knapsack, you can change in the office. The idea is to really, if you're going to do this on a daily basis, you need to be able to wear the proper attire as well,
Okay.
right?
So that's strongly encouraged. Okay, let's go to the other safety requirements. We showed a number of them a while ago. Let's go to, well, number 6 is that riders should observe speed limit, which we talked about. That's 60 kilometers per hour. That the riders shall abide with all traffic rules and regulations. I have a follow-up question here. Is there a specific lane for them, Director?
In Metro Manila, there is. But in other part of the country, they are part of the traffic. So there's no particular lane for motorcycles.
But you said in Metro Manila there is,
In Metro Manila, we have the motorcycle lane.
which is the second lane from the left?
No, it's in the center,
The middle.
the one that is marked with the blue
Yeah,
traffic.
Director, that they don't follow.
Yeah, that is being implemented by MMDA.
Okay, Mr. Royeca, what about angkas, motorcycle drivers? Will they follow that? Because that was done, I think, in the previous MMDA administration. And frankly, I see it's not being followed on EDSA.
Oh, definitely. I mean, we're very strict when it comes to traffic rules and regulations, and you'll be surprised that a lot of the drivers don't know the traffic rules and regulations. So when we go through the training, that's really highly emphasized, including the motorcycle lane.
So they should follow that. Okay, let's go to the next one, that riders shall or need to observe maximum payload of the motorcycles. What does this mean?
So you have, depends on the cc, 100 cc to 200 cc will have a different weight limitation on the bike. So, you can't exceed that. So one passenger definitely, but also you need to consider the weight of both the biker, the rider, and the passenger.
In layman's terms, there will be lighter motorcycles that will carry lighter passengers,
Yes.
ganun ba yan?
Yes.
And bigger motorcycles with bigger CCs that will
Yes.
carry heavier
Yes.
people. All right. Number 10, riders must wear the proper uniform, pants and shoes. And then riders shall be allowed to serve 10 hours a day, meaning they can't serve over and above 10 hours.
Yes, that's the idea.
That's it, yeah.
So this is a TWG, so the idea is really to come up with the proper safety precautions and regulations. And so, we're continually, hopefully this will get information about this and see what is really appropriate.
Okay. And then, so let's talk about the fare matrix, also very important. This will be test piloted in Metro Manila and in Cebu. The fare matrix is quite different. Let's go to the one in Metro Manila. From my understanding, unless it's been changed by you guys, it's 50 pesos?
Yes.
For the first.
First 2 kilometers.
And then an additional,
10 pesos for every kilometer thereafter.
not 10 to 15.
10 pesos for every kilometer thereafter, and after 7 kilometers, it goes up to 15. The idea behind that is we encourage short rides.
Yeah.
It becomes very expensive when you use it for long rides.
What's the idea behind that? Why should it be more expensive for longer rides? Is it because of a safety issue? Or?
Well, comfort, safety, and really the purpose of motorcycle taxis is really to augment and become a feeder service
Yeah.
for the mass transit.
Okay.
So from the house to the bus stop, house to the MRT station, that's the idea.
I
So,
see.
Yes.
All right, and then let's go to Cebu. That's a different fare matrix over there in Cebu. It's much cheaper. It's 20 pesos for the first kilometer,
Yes,
right? Okay.
yes. Yep.
And then?
And then it's 16 pesos for every kilometer.
Director, who did the matrix for this, the payment scheme, the fare matrix?
Actually, we had consulted with the present fare matrix of ANCAS, because the other, let's say the habal-habal services do not have this fare matrix. So it's ANCAS. So we asked them to assist the TWG in coming up with a fare matrix.
And Mr. Royeca, for your drivers, is this, I'm sure, of course, you need to take care of your drivers and your passengers, but it's a good enough money, an income generating job for your drivers, huh?
Definitely. I mean, it's a very, very good source of income for them, for both full-time and part-timers. This fare matrix went through a lot of research. We did the willingness to pay survey. We also checked all the different terminals and the habal-habal prices that you contract on average. So a lot of work went through the sweet spot to be able to get to this fare matrix.
Is there a price surge?
There's a 1.5 dynamic pricing up to 1.5 dynamic pricing.
During
on
rush,
peaks, yes.
Rush hour. And rush hour would be, do you have a time for this already? A set time? Or it depends on the
it's
demand?
It's an algorithm, yes. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so that happens just like Uber and Grab. So just very briefly, I want to go back to the education and safety. Anything else you'd like to add to this, gentlemen? The education and safety for passengers and drivers as well?
I mean, education is key. A lot of people don't realize, they call them kamote riders. But really, when they buy the motorcycle, a big portion of them or a big number of them don't go to any formal training. So even both passengers and drivers, they really don't know how to ride a motorcycle. So we believe that, I think we've proven with ANCAS, and hopefully the TWG gets to yield this result, that our safety record, which is 99.997%, is really due to the training that we provide to our drivers. So, Filipinos, if you train them, they actually follow. Yeah.
As long as, especially if you give them good training.
Yeah, and also another aspect of this program on concentrating on the safety is not just for the motorcycle taxi. It's also to inform all the motorcycle riders on the proper way to operate a motorcycle and how to ride the motorcycle.
It's actually, when you think about it, because of the kind of training that is supposed to happen here, it's a two-pronged approach. Supposed to be, it makes it easier for people to go from point A to point B. That's one. And number two, you actually educate them on the proper rules and regulations, how to ride a bike, how to drive a bike, and how to ride a bike. So it's almost like a holistic approach doing this. We'll be taking another short break. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Please stay tuned. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. Our guest today, Land Transportation Office Director Francis Almora and ANCAS Head of Regulatory and Public Affairs, George Royeca. So safety is paramount now. What happens in an unfortunate incident such as an accident? How is this going to, how is this going to pan out, George?
Well, the TWG required the ANCAS or the proponent of the pilot implementation to come up with an insurance system which is higher, supposedly higher than what is existing in the market.
Which means?
So you can claim insurance. So there's insurance for the passenger and the rider. We also have a feedback mechanism. So all of these accidents or incidents are reported, consolidated by the TWG and reviewed. And we've classified accidents for major to minor accidents. And this is part of the TWG discussions.
How will the passengers know what constitutes a minor or a major accident?
It won't be the passenger. It'll be the medical legal.
I see.
And the police report. Yeah.
Okay. So this is obviously an app, no,
Yes.
Georgia? What are the salient features of the app? Is it just the usual, maybe just to compare it like a Grab app, ganun ba yan?
It's quite similar. So you have upfront pricing. You can call on the driver. You'll see it on demand where the driver is and where it goes. So basically, you have a feedback mechanism, so you can rate the driver as well. There are notes there, so it's pretty much a ride-hailing app. It's a very regular, run-of-the-mill ride-hailing app.
Can they deny pickup for you, for a passenger?
There are repercussions if this is done on a regular basis for the biker.
Yeah.
But ideally, they don't deny. Ideally, yeah.
How big of an effect would this be on the traffic situation, Director, in Metro Manila and Cebu?
Oh, well, the the number of passenger being served based on the data provided by ANCAS would mean there's really a big impact on using a motorcycle taxi.
What numbers are we talking about? Like on a daily basis, George? How many passengers are you expecting or volume?
Well, let's talk about the market in the Philippines based on the research that we've conducted. The entire habal-habal industry ferries about 100,000 in Metro Manila on
So
a daily
100,000
basis.
passengers.
Yes.
Okay.
But of course, the amount of bikers that we have won't be able to address this market. So really, this is really just a test so that we can see if our safety features or safety record holds. And hopefully we can apply this to all the other players in the
But when you say 100,000 passengers, is that just in Metro Manila?
That's just in Metro Manila.
And then you
yes.
have 27,000 drivers. I mean, I'm not sure about this, pero tama ba? Like a driver, if it's 100,000, times 4, will be able to service that 100,000 already.
Well, that's if considering you assume that all
All
27,000
27,000 are there at the same time.
But the whole beauty of the TNC is that they're entrepreneurs and they have their own time. So we actually have to give out incentives to push the driver to come out, especially at peak hours.
Okay, let me ask you, what's the biggest concern of the drivers?
The biggest concern of the drivers is, I don't know, not getting a passenger, I guess, yeah.
Pero no problems naman, let's say, with the bike, with the safety regulations, with the training. They're all good with that. I mean, when they talk to you or ANCAS, what were their biggest concerns?
I mean, for us, from the very beginning, regulation was paramount. It was really a key element of what we were doing, and really the idea is to professionalize the industry.
Yeah.
So we fail 70% of our applicants. We've trained about 100,000 drivers already, but the training's free. And they've been very receptive to this. In fact, when they feel a little bit uplifted now that they know a little bit more on how to operate a motorcycle taxi.
How long is the training?
The
that
training's
they
a day.
undergo? Oh, 1 day.
It's a day. But we
Okay.
do a skills assessment. So we do a bike assessment and a skills assessment. So we check if your bike has modifications,
Yeah.
if the tires are run out.
Yeah.
So these are the things that even before you go to the skills assessment, we check that out.
What about maintenance of the bikes? Whose responsibility is that?
So everything is the responsibility of the driver, but we do regular meetups to make sure that their equipment is intact and well maintained.
Director, we're hearing, of course, ANCAS. Are there other groups seeking permit for the motorcycle taxis?
There are other groups that are waiting for the legalization. Let us be clear that this pilot implementation is part of the TWG activities. We are not saying that it's already ANCAS that is the motorcycle taxi. ANCAS is just is the lead, the one that had been dominant in the market, and they had already a program in place. So this is what the TWG had adopted, and based on that, what would be the result after 6 months or even before?
Yeah.
The TWG can recommend either to terminate the program or to extend the program, continue with the program. This is just a part of the TWG activity that would really determine the feasibility of having an MC taxi.
Right. So when you talk about timeline, the approval or possibly the cancellation will happen sometime in November or December, sir? Ganun ho ba yun?
Yeah, if we will follow this one. But then there are also legislations in Congress and Senate that's another part of the equation.
Yeah, kasi
And,
pag mapasa yun, George, no?
Yeah, so this is basically in aid of legislation. So this will be part of the discussions in Congress and Senate and the committee hearings to see what the result of the pilot is.
Medyo baliktad, ano? Inauna yung technical working. Ganun ba? Hindi, actually, minsan ganun talaga. TWG pala muna bago ano.
The good thing about this is we're in a very unique position because ANCAS is, is already existing. We can actually test a real-world scenario.
Yeah.
So we're not just writing laws and theory on paper. We're actually refining the implementing rules and regulations so that it's really set for the road.
And the app is already ready.
The app's ready. Yes.
Okay. All right. We'd like to thank our guests, LTO Director Francis Almora and ANCAS Public Affairs Head George Royeca. Gentlemen, thank you, and of course, good luck.
Thank you.
It's coming up in June. Thank you for joining us here on The Source. I'm Pinky Webb. You're watching CNN Philippines.